Mr. McGuinty, I understand that as of the end of the month, November checks or December checks, OW recipients are going to be getting an extra $6 a month, and ODSP recipients will be getting an extra $11 a month. There is also going to be a cancellation of the community startup funds and also some discretionary funds that have to deal with vision and dental. People who live in poverty have rights. They also have dignity. And by cutting back and eliminating and raising their rates only by 1%, it is an atrocity, and it just makes us feel like we are second-class citizens and that the people who make the decisions do not care. The Partners in Mission Food Bank and any other food banks in Kingston are not the grocery stores of the poor. Places like Lunch by George and Martha's Table are not their restaurants. People who live in poverty must have dignity. They must feel that they participate in their community and that their community respects them for their efforts.
Premier McGuinty has been meeting with people around Ontario who receive social assistance. And it's been very interesting how seriously people take their moment with McGuinty to tell them what's going on in their lives, how difficult it is for them, and how hard it is for them to understand in a province as wealthy as Ontario why there isn't enough money for food. And people have asked how he was raised, and how did his family raise him, and what is in his heart, and can he look himself in the mirror, and can he sleep at night, knowing that thousands of people have $599 a month, and after they pay the rent, they have little, if anything, left for food. And it's quite moving and quite interesting to hear people speak directly to him and say this. And we're hoping that when he hears directly from people, from their hearts, he will respond from his heart as well.
Dalton, I've been out of the country for over a year, or certainly out of province. And I've come back and people are all upset over something, and I just don't know what it is. But I see this, justice is the only wisdom. And I'm sure, I hope those are your words, and that you're interested in justice, because that's the way you and I were brought up, right?
Hi, my name is Diana Inkster. I'm living in Kingston, Ontario, and I'm very, very disturbed at the low social assistance rates. Mike Harris cut them by 20%, but he didn't touch ODSP rates. Inflation over the last 15 years has meant that food prices have gone through the roof, but the social assistance rates have remained virtually the same. The rents in Kingston are very, very high. The price of housing is very, very high. I know a couple of people on ODSP who have somehow clung to their house and gotten emergency repairs out of ODSP with a lot of effort. And now that's going to be cut, I guess, on January 1, 2013.
My whole heart goes out to people in such need. I live with people that are being evicted right now, and I know people who are hungry. I notice that McGuinty looks a little bit thin. Maybe he'd understand that. We need to have more compassion. We need to reach out to one another every day and help one another to have a dignity in their lives, which so many are losing at this time with the government we have. And this country used to be my pride and joy, but I've kind of lost some of that. I feel bad about that.
We're here today. Mr. McGuinty is being taken on tour around the province so that people who are living in poverty talk to Vincent. They don't have enough money to eat. Their social assistance rates are not high enough for them to surrender. And they would like to see the social assistance rates raised and more food in the budget.
Yeah. Well, as you know, there have been some changes made to the budget as a result of various discussions and negotiations that we've had with the NDP. It's
a 1% raise.
It's better than it was before, and
well, it's
and
$5.99 if you're a single person on assistance.
I know it's not enough. I know that full well, and I, for one, wish we had done a lot better.
And you're aware of the rents in Kingston that a one-bedroom apartment is over $800, a bachelor apartment is $676. If you're getting $5.99 assistance, you're paying your entire check towards rent. So what do you expect people to do?
Yeah.
Do you have an answer for them?
Oh, look, I wish I had an answer, and I wish there was more than enough money to go around to look after all the vulnerable and needy people in our world, in our province. You know, there's some very tough choices to make. We're not very popular with doctors these days, teachers, and a whole group of other people, because everybody thinks that there's a little bit more money for them somewhere along the line. And the people that we really should be assisting are the people that you're, each and every one of you are fighting for.
They are the most vulnerable people in Ontario. The corporations that are getting tax breaks and lots of profits off the top, they're not the most vulnerable people who need to be looked after.
As you know, we've stopped the corporate tax cuts, which is something that I've been favoring for a number of years now. And we're also putting a slight increase on taxes for the people that make lots of money in our society. But I know we can always do better, and I want to compliment you and all those people that are fighting those issues on their behalf.
You know, the social assistance rates are going to be what they're like in the city of Kingston. You know that there are a lot of people in Kingston who hit food banks and meal providers. What I would like to ask you within the next month, perhaps, is if you and other members of the cabinet would like to accompany me on a walking tour to see just exactly where all of the citizens in Kingston who are the most vulnerable rely on getting their daily essentials.
I would be more than pleased to walk with you once the House rises, and maybe we can do it in the early part of July, because I'll be here for most of the time in July.
And the thing I'd like you to know is really interesting to me is how seriously people who receive social assistance are taking their time to talk to the Premier. They're sitting down and they're making very serious and heartfelt comments. And it's interesting to me that how real this feels to them as the best opportunity they have for them to be heard. And we're doing video around the province of this, and we're going to send it a summary of all that to the Premier so he can hear what people are saying to him when we helped him travel the province. And he's got a good smile on his face, and he's been listening very well. He's clearly been in listening mode.
Well, you know, once you have a copy of that video, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I think that efforts like this are extremely important. You know, it's been my experience in politics that if you want to get anywhere, you have to join with other people on whatever the cause may be, and then you are much more likely to affect change. The biggest problem, the way I see it, and I'm getting older and older by the day, is that the difference between the haves and the have-nots in our society have grown exponentially. And they're so large now that, you know, we worry about people that make an awful lot of money that maybe have to cut back a little bit. And I've already mentioned those individual groups, etc., that they seem to be getting all the attention, whereas the people at the bottom end of the economic scale do not. I can well recall when food banks first became a reality here in the city of Kingston, which was probably about 1985 or 86. It was intended to be a 6-month project.
So Mr. Gerretsen, you're saying something that we know that's important, which is within the Liberal Party there has always been a tradition towards social justice.
Yes.
And that part of the party seems to have lost ground. And we really need people like you to be champions inside the party. A 1% increase now is completely inadequate. And we need people like you to really push on this. The people with low incomes did not create the economic crisis. They already live an austere life. You can't have a more austere life than a person on social assistance.
Yeah.
So in an austerity budget, people with low incomes need more, not less. You know that any additional money they get is going to get spent in the local community, so it's an economic stimulus. And you also know all the research that says healthcare costs are higher for people with low incomes because of chronic medical conditions, diabetes, etc. So it's only good news. It makes only good sense to invest. And just as you were saying to me a minute ago, I agree with you, it's a political problem, not a policy problem, that more people need to be pressing the government to do that, and we're doing our part to put wind in your sails.
Yeah.
But we need you and other members of the caucus who feel the way you do to really raise that sail and push on the inside.
Well, some of us have been pushing on the inside for a long period of time, and we've win some battles and lose some battles. And in some areas we've made some gains, but the gains haven't been far enough.